Thank you to our producer-level patrons who I don't have on a screen in front of me, but I will in 1 minute.
Sup, nerds? It's basketball. Welcome to Horse, a basketball podcast about everything except for the wins and losses. My name is Mike Schubert, and I'm joined by my trusted co-host, the normally us both being in New York when we record, to the plot twist of Adam being in Indianapolis,
Correct.
I am in it's Adam Mamawala. Adam, how's it going?
It's going well. It's been a whirlwind. I've been all over the place, but I'm happy to be here chatting with you.
Yes, and we've got lots of basketball to discuss. We have NBA drama, we have WNBA actual on-the-court drama, and then this whole episode is the drama draft. So it's going to be a very drama-filled episode. Let's get to the drama, right to it. To prepare for the drama, we have to go to the Teal Memorial Locker Room, a place that has no drama, but it does let you get ready to break down drama.
I like it.
Now, you know who also has no drama?
Our patrons, and especially our producer-level patrons who are drama-free.
Drama-free. Shout out to our drama-free producer-level patrons, Polly Burge, Salvatore Testa, Siobhan Ellsbury, Don't Go Chasing Taco Falls, Bang, Bang, Roast Beef Debris, Denver Steam Nuggets, Anna Reed. Steph Curry is a veteran now. Weird.
Yeah, isn't that, I guess maybe it just happened overnight. Obviously, he's still great, but, he's definitely, he's getting up there.
I think even beyond veteran, he's like elder statesman, but he's still so good that it's weird. It's weird. It's like when people say LeBron is the oldest person in the league, which he is, and he also was last year. But it's like, but he's still really good. So it's not like when it was Dirk out there, and you're like, Dirk,
or that,
you're doing great. Yeah. Anyway, hi Trish, Chase Underulo, Naked Rachel, Sidney Crosby is a vampire, Chelsea's cousin, Ginger Spurs boy, Balls to the Balls, and Mats Furley. Speaking of the Patreon, if you are a current horse patron or a potential future horse patron, Patreon is changing the way that they charge people. We normally had our thing set up where we would charge you every time we posted an episode, just since we post every other week. Some months have 3 episodes instead of 2. But going forward, starting in November, Patreon will only let you charge monthly. So we're readjusting some of the tiers, we're consolidating them, and we're going to be moving stuff around a little bit. Similar rewards, just like changing that price point in some stuff. So head on over to...
Yeah. You're not going to be paying any more. That's an important thing to understand.
You won't be paying more. And if you don't change your thing, your price will stay the same. You just might lose out on some of those benefits if you don't join one of the new tiers. But if you want to learn all about it, go to patreon.com/horsehoops. We will have a public post that anyone can read. So even if you're not a patron, you can read this and see what's up. But basically, starting in November, there will be a new situation and all the information will be on Patreon. And you know who else creates or reduces drama on our end, at least, by helping us out?
Probably our sponsor, by giving us some dough.
Yeah, Shaker and Spoon. That's our sponsor for this episode. You can go to shakerandspoon.com/horse and you can get a box of stuff that will help you make fancy drinks. Maybe you're celebrating the end of the WNBA season or the beginning of the NBA season or both. Or maybe you like baseball. There's so many things you can do. And all you got to do for Shaker and Spoon is provide the booze. They provide everything else. They give you the box with the ingredients and the instructions and all to make 3 different recipes, 4 servings of each, and then you can make all these fancy drinks and stuff. We've done it. It's fun. You should check it out. It's Shaker and Spoon, and you can go to shakerandspoon.com/horse. And if you do, you'll get $28 off your first box, which is half off. Pretty sweet stuff. So that's Shaker and Spoon, and that is our sponsor for this episode. Now, before we get into the rest of the episode, unless you're listening on Patreon, where we'll get right to the rest of the episode, there will be a break for some ads that help us, again, just to not be in the red making the show. And then when we come back, we will continue our coverage of all things horse-related. All right, Adam, what do you got?
I've got more stuff since the last time. We talked about it on the previous episode, but I have had the very cool experience of traveling around the country with Dane Cook, doing a bunch of shows. I have been added to a bunch more. That's why I'm in Indianapolis, and I was in D.C. last night and Detroit tomorrow, but that's all in the past when you're listening to this, so sorry that you missed it. But this is what I have coming up as you are listening now. On the 24th, 25th, and 26th of this month, October, I will be in Ohio. Those shows are in Akron, Columbus, and Cincinnati. The following weekend, I will be in Texas. So on that Friday, November 1st, I will be in Dallas. Saturday the 2nd, I will be in Houston, and Shoobs might be there. TBD, we'll find out.
Maybe it depends on how things work out.
And then Sunday, the 3rd of November, I will be in Austin. I had to move my Arlington, Virginia show, so that show is a day earlier. That is now Wednesday, November 6th. It is kind of late. It's a 9:30 start. I apologize for that if you have kids or early mornings, but I will be done by 11, and that is my promise to you. So I hope you can still make it if you already have tickets for that. Then the 7th, I will be in Grand Rapids, Michigan with Dane Cook. The 8th and 9th, I will be in my mom's home state of Wisconsin in Madison and Milwaukee, respectively. Also with Dane on the 10th, I'll be back east for a show in Frederick, Maryland. Yeah, I got a bunch of other stuff, but I'm going to leave it there because that's the upcoming interesting stuff. What do you got?
I've got some stuff upcoming as well. I've got a half Potterless, half the Noose Olympian show in New Orleans on October 26th. And then I've got a show in Philadelphia on November 7th. And then December 16th in Austin, Texas. Those last two shows are just TNO only. And then there's DC, the reschedule of the DC show, technically Vienna, Virginia. That's on December 3rd. And that's the Noose Olympian. If you want tickets, you can go to schub.es/tour.
Cool.
All right. Do we have an NBQ&A, Adam?
We do have an NBQ&A, and this one comes to us from one of our beloved producer-level patrons, Matt Furli. And the question is, hello there, as someone who is deeply confuzzled, direct quote, every time someone talks about NBA contracts and trade rules and stuff, but would like to not be, could you explain? Or if you have any recommendations to YouTube videos, blah, 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 that would be appreciated as well. Sincerely, your friendly neighborhood basketball noob, Mott's. So I thought we could give kind of a brief overview of maybe some of the things that are most confusing to people. I think maybe one would be the fact that like the team that the person is on already has the opportunity to offer that player more so that they don't sign elsewhere. But could you give our friend Mott's kind of an overview of contracts and trade rules? We talked a little bit about how the Knicks like fudged some trade rules with the extra dollar when we discussed the cat trade. But what kind of overview could you give our buddy Mott's?
So in general, when a player comes into the league, they get signed to a contract, and there's a couple of different ways that can happen when they are a rookie. If you are drafted in the first round, you get a particular type of contract where you're guaranteed a certain amount of money. And based on like how high you are in the draft is how much money you can get. The Knicks also did a tricky thing where you can get between like 80 to 100% of a thing. And almost always those players get 100%. But the Knicks got their guy at 80% because he wanted to play in New York as opposed to other places. So there's trickiness there. But basically, there are particular rules about the type of contract that you have to sign if you draft someone in the first round, as well as in the second round. Traditionally, just like the easiest way to say it, of course, there's like little circumstances that can change here and there. Usually you sign someone to a 4-year contract off the jump, and then there is usually a team option for the last 2 years. So there's a team option means basically the team can decide, yeah, we want to keep paying this guy at this amount of money. Usually that is good because rookies usually start relatively cheap. Like it's kind of expensive and it's a lot of money for humans. But when you compare to like the stars of the NBA, it usually ends up being a lot cheaper. So usually those contracts are accepted. And then the second round has some other stuff, but also 4-year deals are pretty common there. And then you can also just sign people undrafted. That's where you get more creative stuff like that. But in general, for these contracts, the NBA has mostly guaranteed contracts. Sometimes there will be things that aren't guaranteed where, you know, if you're only on a team for X amount of games or something like that, you don't get the full amount. But that's usually for people who are like later in their career or like at the end of the bench. But the NBA, as opposed to, I know the NFL has like lots of unguaranteed money. I think the NBA is better at it. I think baseball is like the best at guaranteed money. Right. But the NBA is like pretty solid with the guaranteed money. When you are under contract, then that means the team can trade you and stuff. There are rules about it, like we talked about the Knicks thing, in terms of like dollar amounts having to match. And if you are a team that is over a certain payment threshold for the whole team, then the rules get trickier. But in the general sense, a team has the ability to trade you as long as you're under contract. If you are in between contracts, that's when you're a free agent, so you can decide to sign with a new team or stay with your old team. And like Adam alluded to, there's lots of different things to try and incentivize people to stay with their old team. The big reason being the NBA doesn't want just the teams in major cities to dominate, because the major cities will have better money influx from TV deals and ticket sales and all these sorts of things. And you don't want that to happen if you are looking for a league that is very even. So they will do things that incentivize teams to keep their players, where they can either offer the players more money than anyone else or more years than anyone else, or the team itself can go over that maximum payment threshold without penalty. And these things can help keep a team together. Baseball, on the other hand, you look at the playoffs, LA, 2 New York teams, and they're just spending lots of money.
Right.
So, as a New York Yankees fan, I think it's fantastic.
And it doesn't always work that way, but
Right. But the NBA is very much trying to avoid that, because every year, like 12 to 15 Major League Baseball teams just don't try. And they do not care. And then the other teams are like, well, there's no limit to how much we can spend. Baseball reference, I guess, because they haven't said it yet. You can just spend a lot. So the NBA is more interested in parity. They do these kinds of rules. But that's a basic thing. There's all sorts of like little contract minutia that you can get into, where like there is a thing, not just a team option, but there's a player option where the player can decide if he wants to opt into a final year of a contract or opt out because he's playing really well and he thinks he can get another big contract or a bigger contract. But then on the flip side, if you sign for a player option and then you're bad and 3 years later, then you're like, oh, I would actually love to take this option because no one else will pay me $20 million, so I'm going to make this team pay me 20. So there's like all these other things. Sometimes contracts ascend.
Yeah, and I would assume if it's anything like baseball, that like there are also incentives within the contracts that say like, if you are named to all NBA first team, you get an extra kicker of $3 million. If you're named the MVP, you get X, Y, and Z. If the team wins the finals or your finals MVP, then you get some huge amount of money. So that is also built into it as well.
There's even some official ones, because if you've ever heard of things like the Supermax contract and stuff like that, those are things where it's like official rules where a player is eligible to make a certain contract because they have made all NBA teams or all-star teams and, won the MVP, stuff like that. So there's not even just things where like the teams can get creative and do things like number of games played for someone who's injury prone, but then also like official NBA rules like, oh, if you've done enough of official NBA accolades that was voted on by the media and the coaches and all that kind of stuff, then you can get a higher contract. So there's all sorts of little details like that. If you do want to get like super in the weeds, ESPN has a writer, it's Bobby Marks. He's like their cap expert. So if you specifically just want to nerd out about those numbers, you can read stuff by him. Or there's a podcast called Dunked On, Dunced, because it's hosted by Nate Duncan. They're also very like contract nerdy about stuff. So if you really want to go in the weeds, you can listen to those. But I don't listen to Dunked On because they were so snooty about the Knicks all the time that it was so infuriating. And maybe I should listen now that we're good and they have to eat crow. But that's just my personal bias.
Yeah. But thank you very much for the question. It was a good one, and hopefully we cleared some of your queries up, and you'll be less of a noob resultingly.
Okay, I think now we can get a full court press, get out like the news. We've got some news.
We've got news.
So let's get to some of the drama stuff first. The biggest drama thing is between Dante DiVincenzo and Jalen Brunson's dad, Rick Brunson. So Dante DiVincenzo was one of the people traded from the New York Knickerbockers to the Minnesota Timberwolves in the Karl-Anthony Towns trade. The Timberwolves came to New York to play a preseason game in MSG, and Dante DiVincenzo got a little chirpy. He got fouled driving to the lane, and while he was shooting free throws, I don't know if it was an and one or whatever, but whatever it was, he's at the free throw line and he was chirping to Tom Thibodeau and he said, "Oh, can't finish, right, Tibbs? Can't finish, huh, Tibbs?" So I guess Tibbs had said something to Dante, like giving him critique, saying that he wasn't good at finishing. To Tibbs' credit, wasn't Dante's biggest skill set, but that's fine. But it seemed like the thing where like, trash talk, this kind, as a trash talk expert here, like this is a trash talk you do to a friend. Like this is something I would say, like if you were on a different baseball team and I hit a single to left field and I was on first base, I would tell you like, oh, I hit it opposite field, huh? Because you've like challenged me to hit it to the opposite field before, because it's not what I normally do. Sure. So like, this is the kind of trash talk I would do to you if you were on another team. Like, it was friendly. The problem is, it seemed like, and the microphones didn't pick it up, but it seemed like Rick Brunson then got in and said something. Now, Jalen Brunson's dad is a coach on the team. He is a former player. He is a former Knick. He is only a coach because of his son being Jalen Brunson, but he is a coach on the team. And whatever he said made Dante mad. Maybe it was just Dante getting mad at Rick inserting himself into this like playful, friendly beef. And he said to Rick Brunson, that's what happens when they let you run the show. That's what happens when they let you run the show. So it seems like there was some established beef. After the game, they continued to draw at each other and players had to separate them. After the game, Dante DiVincenzo said, like, it was all good. Me and Rick figured it out off to the side. It's all good. My general takeaway is that Dante DiVincenzo does not like Jalen Brunson's dad, even though Jalen and Dante are really close. They were, Dante was a groomsman in Jalen's wedding, and like Josh Hart wasn't. So like very close. I think he's the only Nova guy who was a groomsman. So they're very close. So it seems like maybe there was some established bitter feelings between Dante and Rick. Maybe it preceded, maybe it's like all the way back in the Nova days. Maybe it's just the Knick things. Like maybe Dante doesn't like that Jalen's dad is a coach and this person who is like more of your peer now is your authority figure. And Dante's like, who the hell are you telling me how to play basketball? You're just here because you're Jalen's dad. Like, I could see that being it. But Dante, credit to him, was being very reserved and was like, Rick and I have a private relationship. We'll figure it out off the court. There's no beef between me and Tibbs. There's no beef between me and the Knicks. Like, it's all good. So it seemed like it was like a bigger, oh my gosh, deal than it actually was. But it seemed just more like Dante doesn't like Rick Brunson is, I think, the final line.
Yeah, that's fair.
But that's fine, whatever. But it was interesting. It got all spicy because people thought in the original clip that Dante was saying, thanks for the trade, Tibbs. But instead, so they thought everything was directed at Tibbs. But then there was another camera angle with a different microphone that made it clear that he said, can't finish, huh, Tibbs. And like the person who posted it had to like post an apology thing about it and all. It was all, there was like more drama initially than actually. It seems fine. It seems okay. So then another drama thing is that it was coverage for, I think, another preseason game. This is on NBA TV, and it was between Sam Mitchell and some other guy. Sam Mitchell used to be, I think, a player in the NBA, definitely a coach in the NBA. And the other guy was making some sort of joke. It sounds like the producers in the ear told him to make this joke, but said something to the effect, I don't know how, like money came up at some point, but then he said to Sam, like, oh, Sam, like, it seems like, you know, it was something about like coaches making money. And he said something effective like, oh, Sam, you're a former coach. Like, maybe doing these broadcasts, you should just do them pro bono. And Sam made a great joke, which was like, looking at the checks they're paying me, I might as well be doing it pro bono. Wow. And like, that was funny. Like, he's making fun of the production team. You could see Charles Barkley doing that kind of joke too. Like, pretty funny. Then it got so much worse because Sam Mitchell interpreted this as the other guy trying to either act like he was not doing well financially or that Sam Mitchell was doing very well financially, because then Sam Mitchell calls him out for having a beach house in Florida. He asked him, did
this
you
is
rent
all on
out
the broadcast?
All live on the air.
Oh, boy.
Asks him, did you rent out your beach house in Florida or no during the hurricane? Because this was when the Hurricane Helene was going on. Hopefully everyone listening is okay. Hopefully everybody, you know, did all right. Not too much property damage. So he said that, and immediately the other guy is like trying to get him to stop it, like laugh it off, whatever. But Sam Mitchell just keeps going. He's talking about how this guy's trying to like cry poor and destitute, so he's going to come at you with receipts. Then he's like, it just keeps going. They try to like cut to the arena where the pregame is happening, all this kind of stuff. Sam Mitchell then leaks the dude's address in the broadcast. Like, he reads off the other guy's address.
What's he
like,
trying to dox him? Yeah, what the hell?
Live on air. Like, I guess so people would look it up and see that this guy has a nice beach house. But he's like, complete misread by Sam Mitchell. But also, like, I don't know. It was weird of like, they did try to make a financial joke at Sam Mitchell's expense, but I think the overreaction was way too much. It was so awkward. They then tried to like clear it up after the fact, saying like, oh no, it was just all fun and games. It was not. And then they did a thing after, like the next day, where the other guy like went to Sam's house and rang the doorbell, and it was like, ha ha ha, I know where Sam lives too, and like very clearly staged, and they were all like buddy, and just like everything they kept trying to do more to prove that it wasn't a beef made it seem like it was more of a beef. Clearly Sam Mitchell does not like this other guy, and he thinks he flaunts his money around, and once this guy just made any sort of money related joke at Sam Mitchell, Sam was like, fuck this, and just unleashed, way overcorrected, but it was also amazing. But it was basically a train wreck.
Yeah, we'll have to share the video of that, which I'm sure exists. It reminds me a little bit of that clip that was floating around when the Yankees played the Cubs, of the two Yankees broadcasters, like basically having like a lover's quarrel on the air. It was such a weird thing about like, oh, you don't want to like talk to me on the bus, and then the other guy was like, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, it does happen. I mean, listen, you spend that much time with somebody, there's going to be stuff that comes up, but probably not best to do that on air.
No, not on live television. Like, what are we doing? I don't understand. Like, I've never been in that situation. I've been in the situation where I've had beef with coworkers. Never did it in like a public setting. Like, you settle that elsewhere, not even, let alone in the office, but like during the product. Like, you're a broadcaster.
Yeah.
So it's wild. Speaking of wild, final thing in Full Court Press, the WNBA finals are going on. We're recording this on October 18th. So currently the Liberty up 2-1. We've had some wild games, and we did a reaction after game one, put it on the Patreon for all patrons. We'll probably do one for game three as well. But game one was this ridiculous comeback by the Lynx. Game three, ridiculous comeback by the Liberty.
Yeah, and both were 15-point deficits that the losing team, or the ultimately winning team, came back from.
Right. And you have the huge three-pointer from Cordy Williams in game one for the Lynx. Then you've got the questionable foul call at the end. Breanna Stewart misses a free throw, goes into overtime. She misses the game winner, all this other stuff. Then game three, it's all of the Sabrina show. She didn't necessarily start the game off very hot, had like one or two buckets, like nothing really good in the first half, and then came alive in the second half, and the three-pointer to win the game, just this step-back three from very far away over Kayla McBride, just drained it, like super intense shot. I was watching this live and literally out loud said, no way, and it went in, and it was nuts.
And
like,
then full on stank face after the shot too.
Stank. It was more of not even stank, but just like a I'm so locked in face.
Yeah.
Like, she was so focused, just on another level. And it's the kind of game where, like, yes, in theory, the Lynx, if you go by the rule of like the home team usually wins, in theory, the Lynx should win the next game and then it's tied and you would go into game five. But like, it's one of those games where it's just like, oh my God, you just can't imagine the Liberty losing after such an intense performance.
Yeah, but I mean, huge credit to the Liberty, because it felt like after game one, it's like, oh my God, did they just blow their chance at winning the finals? Because to feel like you have it in the bag and then lose it in that way, I'm very impressed that they won game two as handily as they did, and then obviously came back in game three. My personal favorite part about game three, other than obviously the shot being incredible, was that I happened to be out at a bar. I had a shoot for something in the West Village, and then Celia met up with me, and we were watching the Mets game, and then some people asked to put on the Liberty game, which like we also very much wanted to watch, and there was a group of like finance douches to our right who were like laughing about like, oh, who the fuck wants to watch the WNBA game? Like, the Mets are in the playoffs. And then it became increasingly clear that like at least half of the bar preferred the WNBA game over the Mets game. So then at a certain point, they just had like
wasn't that Mets game a blowout anyway?
That one was closer initially, but either way.
Okay.
They had like half the TVs on that and then half the TVs on the Mets game. But like by the end of the WNBA game, it was much more clear that like people were invested in that and like screaming and freaking out than the Mets game. So that was also particularly fun.
It's been cool. And I know going into the series, I was rooting for the Lynx because I'm still bitter about Breanna Stewart leaving the Storm to go to the Liberty. But seeing how much New York has embraced the Liberty
Yeah.
makes me really happy for them. And if they do win, like they've been to 6 WNBA finals and never won.
Right.
So if they, and like I think this is their 6th. So whatever it is, like if they win, it would be awesome. They're one of the original WNBA teams that got a ton of legends. No one's ever won the title. So if they win, that'd be really cool. And like, it's just cool for me to see, because I've gone through this where I remember like having to like convince people, like when I would go to Liberty games in Westchester, people would be like, oh, you're really going that far to watch women's basketball? And I felt like I would have to like defend it. Yeah. And now it's just nice to see, like in the Yankees subreddit, someone had posted this video about like, it was a meme thing of how all the New York sports teams are doing well except for the football teams, and it didn't have the Liberty. And like all the comments were like, where are the Liberty? Put the Liberty in there. The Liberty are good. So like people legitimately embrace the Liberty. The Knicks subreddit has been posting all Liberty stuff during this finals run. So like it's just really cool that they have entered like real team that we give a shit about status, and that alone makes me be like, okay, I'm fine. And then of course Ellie the elephant, but like
it's can imagine the celebration when they win, if they win.
Yeah, like if you know me as a fan, I'm so like petty and bitter that if I am melting away my Breanna Stewart hatred to be okay with the Liberty winning, like that shows you how captivating the Liberty are as a team. For sure. And if they win, I won't be mad.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll see where it's at, but it's been a fun series, and that's really all you can ask for. Like it's been some really good games. The comebacks are always fun, and we'll just see how it goes. Hopefully it goes the full 5.
Yeah, absolutely. And also regarding that article, did they forget that the Brooklyn Nets exist?
Oh, no, not at all. Like it's totally. It's.
I'm just saying if they're implying that a bunch of New York sports teams are good, the Nets are for sure not.
Oh yeah, they should have added the Nets as one of the ones doing bad. Yeah, oh for sure. But like I got the sense of this, and I think it's true now. Like I think there's more Liberty fans than Nets fans, or at least like active ones. Like there's the attendance numbers won't even be close if you look at Nets games. I guess maybe just from away, but like actual Nets fans going to Nets games versus Liberty fans going to Liberty games, it's not a contest. It's not a contest.
The people going, the passion that they have, it's like not even comparable.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, the energy is so different for those two games. But that has been Full Court Press. Get out like the news. Now we can get into what we're going to do to conclude this episode. It is the most wonderful time of the year. It is the NBA drama draft here at Horse. Just like the Jersey draft, we're going to go pick for pick to try to put together the most dramatic teams possible. We will expound upon why we think they are going to be dramatic, and then when we get to the end, why we think the other teams will not be dramatic. And we'll just go through and each have a roster of 30 teams. Maybe we put it up to a vote like we did last time to see, who we thought, what teams people think we did a better job of. And then we'll revisit it at the end of the year to see if we correctly predicted drama. So shall we do our classic rock, paper, scissors to see?
Do it.
All right. So rock, paper, scissors, shoot. You got me. I did scissors.
All right. All right.
You get the first pick.
I am honored with the first pick of the draft. Now, the Toronto Raptor jersey was pretty clearly the number one pick. I'm thinking this is going to be the same, but maybe you'll disagree. I am going to go with the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah, no, there is no other choice. There is no other choice.
I completely agree for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is that there is always drama in LA on a LeBron-led team. But the real drama that we have to look out for is how JJ Redick does as a coach. That is really going to be what I think everybody's going to be looking for, because the truth is, like, I don't see the Lakers being any better than like bottom tier playoff or probably play
6 to
or probably
10,
play in team. Yeah, I totally agree. So it just kind of feels like I'm surprised they haven't done more in the offseason, because LeBron only has so much more time to try to win. And like, there is no world in which the Lakers are a championship contending team. Like with the roster as it's currently constructed, I think the biggest sources of drama will be JJ Redick, how he does as a coach, how LeBron gets along with him, to what degree LeBron steps on his toes or vice versa, and also Bronny James.
Yeah.
And frankly, I feel bad for Bronny. Like it cannot be easy playing under the shadow of LeBron. I don't think he probably deserves to be in the NBA. I don't think I'm like being mean for saying that. Like it is what it is.
He's just not ready yet.
No. So I think if he's getting minutes over really anyone, that's going to be a story in and of itself. And then, whether or not JJ works out as a coach.
Yeah, I think it's the clear choice. Like when I was coming up with my rankings, like picking the Lakers first was so easy. And then everything else was really hard. Like I don't know that there's another like runaway clear drama team other than the Lakers. They are the easy number one pick. And I was really jostling around like, who do I pick after this? I feel like there's a lot of teams like in the same chunk.
Yeah.
But
well, who's it going to be?
I've been toying a lot, going up and down, back and forth. But I think I'm going to pick the Denver Nuggets. Just because they've had a weird offseason. They let Kentavious Caldwell-Pope go. So he was a good 3-and-D shooter for them. They basically didn't want to spend like the extra money because it's luxury tax stuff. So if you pay him $30 million, it's actually like paying him $100 million with all of the stipulations and stuff. They didn't want to do that. This is the second year in a row they've done that because last year they didn't want to keep Jeff Green or Bruce Brown. So now they've kind of let 3 contributing people on the championship roster just go for nothing, just hoping like, we'll hope our young guys do okay. But then you got Jamal Murray, who's been dealing with injuries and then also playing bad and like maybe playing bad because of the injuries, but maybe not. And then he was really bad in the Olympics. He wasn't great in the playoffs. Is he hurt? Is he not? That's also like a drama thing. Their coach, Michael Malone, has been like really grouchy. Like he's already kind of like a grouchy guy, but it used to be like fun grouchy where he was like mad that the media was talking about the Lakers too much.
Yeah.
And now it's more like he's like seeming bitter with his team and his front office and like the work ethic from the players. Then they just did something that always works out well, added Russell Westbrook to the team. I love Russell Westbrook, but he is not someone that you necessarily want to bring in to a team that is trying to contend, let alone one that is like consensus top 4 team in the West. Like it's people are thinking the Thunder and then them. And then like, it's like the Thunder, them, the Timberwolves, like they're kind of in the top echelon.
Yeah.
So you're bringing Russ into that, which is just like, it could go really well. It could also go horribly. And it's also a weird thing because it seemed like one of those things like Jokic really wanted him. So like, I don't know. It's just kind of a weird situation. They won the title recently and they have the expectations still. And there's just been like some weird burblings. Michael Porter Jr. has this huge contract that he hasn't really been living up to. I think Aaron Gordon is like eligible for an extension. There's just like, there's a lot going on in Denver. If they play well, like none of this matters. Winning solves everything.
Right.
But if they aren't doing well, I think it could get like really ugly. So that's where I'm at. They also did just give Jamal Murray a huge extension. So if he doesn't play well, people are going to be upset.
Yeah.
I just think like I'm picking them mainly because the potential is high. There's a good chance that like they're just good at basketball and it's okay. But there's also the chance that like it's so catastrophic.
Right. If they're not, it'll be a problem.
Yeah.
All right, my next pick is going to be the Philadelphia 76ers. I just don't know how long a process can be trusted at this point. Like,
I felt the same way with the Nuggets with them. Like, it could be amazing.
Yeah.
Or it could be terrible.
Yeah, and I think, like, Philly is not a patient fan base by any stretch of the imagination. It sucks to lose to the Knicks, even more so than losing to anyone else. I do think Embiid is a baby a lot of the time, and we saw that happen against the Knicks when he almost broke Mitchell Robinson's legs because he was frustrated that he didn't get a foul call. I love watching Embiid play basketball for the most part. But yeah, I just feel like if year after year after year, they at best get through the first round and then lose in the first round or lose in the second round, it's just not good enough. Last year was kind of complicated because obviously they dealt with a lot of injuries, and then to draw the Knicks in the first round was kind of tough. But yeah, I don't feel like they've really made any appreciable improvements, and so I see them being like a 50-win regular season team who loses in the first or second round of the playoffs. And at what point do the Sixers just say like, all right, clearly this group is not going to be the group to get it done, or do they pull off some kind of like wild trade and figure it out that way? But I think people are losing their patience.
I think they made good offseason moves. Like obviously getting Paul George is good, but it's just like it's one of those things like on paper they're looking all right because they added Paul George, they added Cody Martin or Caleb Martin, one of the Martin, the better Martin twin, and they got in like Yabusele from the Olympics performance. He did really well. and they still have Oubre, and obviously they still have Tyrese Maxey. They got Drummond. So, like, they've got people, or the team looks good on paper. But, like, Paul George is injury prone. He's already gotten hurt in the preseason. Joel Embiid, injury prone, has already talked about, like, he's not going to be playing back-to-backs this entire season. So I think they're the same thing as the Nuggets, where, like, if they're good at basketball, it's like, great, wow, awesome. And then if Joel and Paul George get hurt, then it's just like, yeah, it's exactly what you've described.
Yeah, because, like, how much does Paul George move the needle at his age?
I mean, when he plays, he's still really good. It's just you always have to precede it with when he plays. Like, when he was on the court for the Clippers, still awesome. Still a great dude, great player, all-star worthy player. But it's always just the question of, can he? He hyperextended his knee already. So, like, he's never, unfortunately, been able to really stay on the court in recent years. So
Right. All right. Who you got next?
I'm going to take the New Orleans Pelicans with number 4. It is almost entirely based around the Brandon Ingram situation, which is just weird. So he's currently, I think, extension eligible. So he's on the last year of his contract, and he can get a big extension. And this will usually happen for star players, especially because with those rules that we talked about earlier, it allows you to pay people more money, keep them on the team. But the problem is the Pelicans don't really want to pay him the full extension, like the maximum money they can give him. And he wants it, naturally, but the Pelicans don't want to give it to him. And it doesn't seem like any other team wants to give him similar money. So it's not like any team is really chomping at the bit to try to do like a sign and trade, to where the Pelicans would sign him to this extension and then immediately trade him to another team that was like, we wish we could give him that extension. But no one seems to be doing that. So it's this weird thing of like, he is good, but he's not max money good, but he wants max money. And it's just this thing of like, some people would love to have him on the team, but not necessarily in the role that he wants to be. Like, he wants to kind of be like a guy. And a lot of teams are like, we would love for you to be guy number 3 or 4. And he's always been kind of like guy 1 or 2. So it's just this weird thing. They have to like pretend that they aren't being mad at each other because he is under contract. So he does have to play for them this year. And it's just kind of weird. And it's just a strange situation that I don't know if he's going to be on the team the whole season. I don't know if they're going to find a trade. I don't know if they will do an extension. I don't know if like how it's going to resolve. But it just feels kind of weird. And the Pelicans are also in this thing of like, it's similar to the Lakers where like they're good, but they're not like good. Like they're not like, you don't have to think about it good. So that just, I think, sets it up for if they get off to a slow start, then it'll be like grumble, grumble, what's going on? And then there's always the Zion thing. What if he gets hurt again? CJ McCollum's getting old. Like there's enough other stuff in New Orleans that I think there could be an issue. There's also like, they've got like a bunch of guys, they, for whatever reason, they never want to play Trey Jones III. Like he should be starting, but they always want to put him off the bench. So I don't know. I think there's enough weird stuff going on in New Orleans where it could get bad.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. My next pick is going to be the Milwaukee Bucks. And it's really just about Doc Rivers. I think, they obviously made that coaching change last year. They brought in Doc. They still ended up losing. I don't think that Doc Rivers is a good coach. I think he might be the most like overhyped, overpaid coach in the history of the NBA, coasting off of one championship with the Celtics 15 years ago. And I also like don't particularly love his attitude. Like you were talking about Michael Malone being really, like stern with people and curt. I hate watching a Doc Rivers press conference because he's just always like short with everybody and doesn't want to deal with anything. And when you have a team with Giannis and Damian Lillard, you have no excuse to not be great. And I just don't know if the Bucks are going to be great. And as a result, I think there's going to be some drama afoot.
Yeah, I think it's a really good pick. For number 6, I will be taking the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is similar to my Nuggets pick, but I just feel like they made this trade, the Cat trade. It's this thing where like New York has like lower stakes with it because we kind of had to do it because our center got injured. The Timberwolves didn't have to do this. They didn't need to do it right now, but they decided to do it right now. So if it doesn't work out, it's going to look bad, especially if Karl-Anthony Towns starts balling out in New York. People are going to be upset. So there is a chance Anthony Edwards just plays awesome. The team is good, but like this team made it farther than any Timberwolves team had ever made it before. And then they traded one of their best players. So I don't know. Maybe it all works out. Maybe Julius Randle's awesome. Maybe Dante DiVincenzo's awesome. But Julius Randle, last year of his contract, in a similar thing where like I don't think he's going to get extended, so he's going to try to play well to where someone wants to give him a big contract. So like, does that mean he starts playing a little more selfish? Does he not actually integrate to the team well? Stylistically, how does that work? Still got Gobert there. Anthony Edwards like is always potential for drama. But it, again, is the potential just be really good at basketball to where there is no drama, but like he's a fiery personality, so like it could go well, it could go poorly. They also could have a lot of drama just in the sense of like Dante DiVincenzo talks a lot of shit, Anthony Edwards talks a lot of shit. Maybe they both get a lot of technical fouls and there's on-court arguments and stuff with other teams, not even internal stuff. But you mix all that in with the expectations because they should be a top team. They are an expensive team. And then on top of all that, you still got the weird A-Rod ownership situation going on. Like that is still there. That could still be something weird. Who owns
they got
the
to
team?
figure that out.
Are they getting the team? A-Rod's still courtside. What's going on? So I think there's, again, just a lot of different factors where like something could, but then just like my other two picks, if they start winning, then no one matters. But
winning solves everything.
It does solve everything, but there's so many potential things for Minnesota that I fear drama might be abound in the land of 10,000 lakes.
Yeah. I'm going back to the West Coast. I'm picking the Los Angeles Clippers as my next team.
That's a good one.
Mainly because Kawhi Leonard just simply cannot stay healthy. I mean, it's honestly makes me sad as a basketball fan just because we've not really seen a full season from him. And I guess since the Raptors won the finals, really, like I feel like that's the last time we had peak Kawhi. They lose Paul George, they lose Westbrook, which, you know, who knows how that will all play out. But like when you look at their team, they're going into a new stadium this year. I guess maybe there's some excitement around that because hooray, we have a new stadium. Really cool. I'm sure it's lovely. But they, even when the Lakers, it's very much like the Nets, right? Where like even when the Nets were good, they're still always a little brother to the Knicks, even if the Knicks are trash. Like I think LA is always a Lakers town, and the Clippers always have like the little brother syndrome going. And I think continuing to not get it done when they've had really a lot of chances over the past like 10 or 15 years to make a deep run, first with like the Lob City teams and then with these more recent teams. You know, everybody's a year older. You know, Harden is a year older and Kawhi's a year older. And, you know, they've got guys like Terrence Mann who obviously have a big upside, but I don't see them making a whole lot of noise, and that's really that.
They're not going to be good. Kawhi's already listed as being out indefinitely to start the season to deal with knee soreness. Right. Like, I don't know. And James Harden recently was quoted saying like, "Oh, Luka took the Mavs to the finals basically by playing solo ball. Maybe I should do that again." It's no, they lost in the finals. What are you talking about? So, I think that is a good pick. For number 8, I am going to select I'm going to do it. I'm going to select the Houston Rockets as number 8. And it's only because it's similar to New Orleans. There is a lingering contract situation going with 2 of their star players. So they have Alperen Şengün and Jalen Green, both in a situation where I believe they are coming off of their rookie contracts. So they, like we were saying in the beginning of the episode, they got like those 4-year deals, and then you can do these like big rookie max extensions. More often than not, a team just like gives these rookie max extensions to like anyone who's like pretty good. An example of that is Emmanuel Quickley right now on the Raptors. Like, should he be making that much money right now? Probably not. But like, he's young enough, and you just do it because if he keeps getting better, that contract will age so nicely because it's still smaller compared to like these super duper huge contracts by established stars. So more often than not, teams just like give these contracts without even blinking. The Rockets aren't doing that. And I think it kind of makes sense because with these 2 players, you're kind of deciding who's the guy. Is Jalen Green the guy? And I hate the whole like the guy thing from like whose team is this? But like more from roster construction, it does make sense because Jalen Green is a point guard, shooting guard, ball handler type, and Şengün is a big man. And that does produce a situation where you would want different people. If you say, all right, Jalen Green's the dude, then maybe you want a center that he can do pick and rolls with. If Şengün is the dude, he's kind of like Jokic, so you kind of have to make your team more Jokic-y, where you got like a lot of shooters and people that are okay doing stuff off the ball because he's going to be like the central hub of the offense, kind of like Isaiah Hartenstein was with the Knicks sometimes and with the Thunder, hoping he does. So just because of that situation, it's already weird that they like kind of have to pick between two dudes. And then there's also the situation where they might just like not, and they might let these guys go into restricted free agency, which is basically a thing where you let a guy test the market and let other people give him contract offers, and then your team can go, oh no, we'll pay that too, and then you just agree to it.
Right.
But it's this weird thing where you kind of are telling your player like, yeah, go see what you're worth. Like we'll let other people tell you. Let the market decide. Like very like capitalistic. Like nah, we don't want to say how much we think you go out and try to get more money than what we're going to offer you. See how it goes. Like it just has like a shitty feel to it, and it seems like they might do that, which like does work in terms of finances, but like it could also destroy the vibes. So
sure.
I think because they're picking between the two people, and then they also have those veterans, like what do you do with Fred VanVleet now? What do you do with Dylan Brooks now? Dylan Brooks is also still on the team. So like there's lots of drama afoot, and they are kind of in that situation of a youngish team where you're like, you got it. This is where you make the move to like launch you and become like the Thunder now. And if they mess it up, it'll be dramatic, I think.
Yeah. All right. My next pick, you're not going to like this, and it's not a troll move, but I do have the rationale to back it up. I am drafting the Knicks pretty high this year. The main reason is that the vibes last year were, and continue to be now, so good that I fear that the only direction to go is down. And I really think that like if the Knicks come out and they go 3-7 in their first 10 games, the sky is going to be falling because everybody has such big expectations for this team. They add Mikal Bridges, they add Cat. Obviously it sucks losing DiVincenzo and you know, I think some people are going to miss Randall, some people won't. They did what they did in the playoffs last year without him anyway. I genuinely hope that there's not drama in New York, but it's also New York. And I just think that if there's any whisper of like Cat not gelling with everybody, or they're having trouble like figuring out the offense, or even like where he fits in defensively, without Hartenstein and with Mitchell Robinson hurt, that like I just think the expectations are so high and the vibes are so good that there's an opportunity for things to not live up to the hype. And it's one of those things where like last year was so fun because to some degree it was like a little unexpected, where the Knicks go on this run, they get through to the second round, they beat the Sixers. I think anything short of like the conference finals is probably looked at as not a good season for the Knicks, and that's really hard to live up to those expectations.
Yeah, no, it's the first time where like I feel like the general consensus is that the Knicks are the second best team in the East. At the very least, that it's like the Celtics and then like Knicks, Sixers, Bucks. And if we don't end up in that second tier, if something goes wrong, then like, it could be bad because now we have expectations again. Yep. Oh, wild. First time we've had that in a while. Number 10, picking the Dallas Mavericks. Luka Doncic, little tiny crybaby. And also they've added Klay Thompson, who like in one of his preseason games was awesome. And then another one recently went like 0 for 9. So like
that's kind of the weird. New Klay Thompson experience.
Right. So I think the Mavs should be good enough to where there's not problems, but they do still have those expectations. They made it to the finals, so people are going to want them to be good. And then you add Klay Thompson, which like could work out, could not. And Kyrie Irving's still on the team. So you never fucking know.
Right. And also like they got to the finals very unexpectedly. And if there are any Dallas fans who are like, oh, so we're going to just do that again.
True.
That's probably not going to happen. And that's also not how it works. So,
yep.
Yeah, I like that pick. My next pick is going to be the Phoenix Suns.
Great. I was deciding between, I kept flip-flopping them and the Mavs, so yeah.
Yeah, and I think they're a little bit like the Nuggets, except the Nuggets have won. Do you know what I mean? Like, they have some players who you look at their roster and you're like, how is this team not the best team in the world? Part of it is age, part of it is health. And I still feel like that year that they went up 2-0 against the Bucks, like that was their year to win, and they didn't win it that year. And I think KD is really the puzzle piece that needs to fit in happily, because as soon as he wants out, that's going to be a problem. And I think he also knows that he has limited time left in his career. Not to say that he's not like content with the fact that he's already won championships, but like, I don't know. I feel like Katie's going to create extra burner accounts possibly this season if things don't go well. So we'll see how it works with, because I think Budenholzer's the coach there now, right?
Yeah, they got Coach Bud. They added in Tyus Jones, which is good because now they actually have like a real point guard, which they didn't have last year. And then I think Booker at the Olympics, that was huge for him. He was so good, and he was like the bedrock of the team. That I am hopeful. But you're right. Like if I think this is like exactly Nugget stuff, but just like a better chance of it not going wrong. But similar things where like if it does, it could be very bad. And then KD's always at the chance of being like, I'm leaving. So, yeah. Okay, number 12, I'm going to pick the Cleveland Cavaliers because they're in this thing where, like, I feel like them and the Magic, they were both like 4-5 last year, and I think that's what people expect them this season as well. But they got a weird thing where, like, they've got this young core that, like, should have made more sense and just hasn't. And now it's this weird thing of, like, okay, so we've got Jared Allen, we got Evan Mobley, we got Darius Garland, and we got Donovan Mitchell, and it's just, like, not really working. And like, what do we do? Because you've got the two guards of Garland and Mitchell, and it doesn't seem like they're like the best working together. And then you've got the two big men of Mobley and Allen, and they're not like doing the best working together either. So it's like, do we still get these guys? Do we trade them? What do we do? Donovan Mitchell had this whole thing where like he was considering going to other teams, and no other team really wanted him. It was like, oh, he's going to go to one of the New York teams. And now the Nets are tanking and the Knicks have Brunson and like aren't going in that direction. So he's like, just kidding. I love Cleveland. So I don't know. I just think that they're in this situation where they have enough expectations, but like the fit has just been kind of weird. They could figure it out and then they would be awesome. And this will look like a stupid pick, but they just like, they've been good enough, but it just like feels like they're supposed to be better with the talent of those four guys. And if it doesn't fit again, then it's just weird.
I also find them so boring. Like the Cavs Magic series was so dull. And there are good players on both teams. It's just like I find them like kind of unwatchable.
Yeah. I like the Magic because at least all the defense is fun. But yeah, the Cavs are kind of boring.
Yeah. My next pick, it's a real California day for me. I'm going with the Golden State Warriors. Similar vibes to like, Steph is of course on limited time here, and he's done literally everything that a person could do. So from that perspective, like maybe who cares? But there's always drama when Draymond is around. It'll be interesting to see what the dynamics like in Golden State in the first non-Splash Brother year. That in and of itself is going to be interesting. And also like, there's like a new crop of guys who are theoretically going to get a lot more playing time now, and the degree to which they mesh with the like old guard of Steph and Draymond and all that is going to be interesting to see. And also like, I feel like increasingly people don't love Steve Kerr's coaching, and it will be interesting to see if at some point they come out of the gate really slow and people are like, all right, I think it's time to maybe usher in this new era of Warriors basketball with a new coach.
Yeah. Number 14, I'm going to pick the Grizzlies. Ja Morant's on the team. That's it.
He is on the team. Yeah, that's fair. And,
can't have him go in the bottom half.
No, of course. Of late, there's been nothing going on there. But even beyond Ja's off-the-court stuff, like it's an interesting thing to go from amazing season on top of the world, Ja's suspended, then he comes back, gets hurt immediately. The team sucks. Like, which version of the team is this going to be? We don't know.
Yeah.
My next pick is going to be the Miami Heat. Heat culture, obviously a big piece of news. But I just think that I feel like I'm saying this about every team, and I guess maybe that's always true. But like, Jimmy Butler, I don't know that he's like a guy anymore because of his age and just the wear and tear on him. Like he's one of those guys that plays so hard that the older he gets, the more you're just constantly worried about like what's going to happen to him when he's on the court. And also like, I feel like Tyler Hero has proved himself to be a good player, but maybe not like a superstar player. And I just think that, the Heat are kind of past their window here, and maybe there's no drama to be had if everyone already thinks that. But I think that Spoelstra is a person who expects a lot from his team, and I think that if they are like a 38 win team, maybe there's drama internally just because everyone's like, well, this fucking sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a big prove year for Jimmy Butler, especially because Pat Riley called him out. So we'll see how it goes. 16, picking the Celtics. Just basically, if they don't win the championship, it's a disappointment. If they don't make the finals, it's a disappointment. If they lose in the finals, maybe people will be okay. But like, if anything happens to where they don't make it to the finals, people will be very upset. And just those very lofty expectations alone. Then you also still have some of the weird stuff of like, still got Jaylen Brown didn't make the Olympic team. Still got Jason Tatum didn't play on the Olympic team.
Right.
Joe Mazzulla is a psychopath. So there's stuff. I think they should probably be so good that they're drama free, but like if anything goes wrong, people will be pissed. And then they also have a weird ownership thing where like they're trying to sell the team and who's going to buy it and what's going to be the new ownership group. Is it going to be Jeff Bezos? Like there's all stuff going on off the court where like that could bleed into.
My next pick is going to be the Detroit Pistons, coming off a disastrous year in which they fired their coach 1 year into what was supposed to be I think a 5 or 6 year
5-year, $120 million contract or something.
Yeah. And I think the thing about that is that was supposed to usher in this new era of like, all right, now we're on the come up. We're going to be getting better now. And then having to fire someone because it's so disastrous and they seem like they don't even want to be there. It just makes you restart that clock. And as someone who's a Bulls fan and feels like I just keep having like a Groundhog Day sort of experience with a team languishing in mediocrity, I think for Pistons fans, they're like, there's only so much horrible basketball that you can watch before you just don't want to watch it anymore. I think the Pistons are a very promising team. Like they definitely do have pieces to maybe even be like a surprise play-in team this year. Like it would not shock me if they were. But I'm kind of more inclined to think that they're going to still suck. And as someone who watches a sucky team, it's not fun.
Yeah. I am going to pick the Toronto Raptors for number 18. And it's not necessarily because they have huge expectations because they're relatively young. They're not supposed to be amazing, but they are like weirdly kind of locked into this team because they've paid a lot of money to Emmanuel Quickley and they've paid a lot of money to Scotty Barnes, and RJ Barrett already came in with a big contract. And then they did give an extension to Jakob Poeltl, and then they did that trade for Kelly Olynyk. So like weirdly, for a team that is not supposed to be very good, they're kind of like set. So if they don't show that upward promise of being good, I think people are going to be like, we're giving all these money to these guys? Like it kind of reminds me of that time when the Heat had like a fun season and they signed like Dion Waiters and Kelly Olynyk and a bunch of people to like these 4-year like middle-ish money contracts. And they like locked in the team. And then they were bad the next year. And then it was like, oh my God, we have to trade everyone. And I just worry about that happening with the Raptors. Like they've kind of made these moves to be like, these are the guys. And if it works out well, cool. Or at least if they just show like some promise and stuff. But if they don't, people are going to be like, these are the guys? So I just think there's a potential. There's just too much rigidity in the way they are constructed that I worry that anything not going right makes the tower topple.
That's fair. My next pick is going to be the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I think, basically the main reason for it is that they tried to pair Trae Young and DeJounte Murray. That did not work. They shipped DeJounte Murray to the Pelicans. And I think that the Hawks, it's interesting because I grew up watching like the Josh Smith, Joe Johnson Hawks, and they were also a team who was like incredibly specifically mediocre every year. And that sucks. And again, as a Bulls fan, like there's nothing more frustrating than watching like a 40-win team every single year who's like, well, I guess we're going to maybe sneak into the playoffs and then get our asses handed to us. Like, I don't know. Trae Young is really good, but it's hard for me to picture him ever being like good enough to lead a team to a great playoff run unless there's a lot of added talent around him. And I don't think the Hawks have that. And yeah, I think that's really it.
Yeah. Next pick for 20, I'll go with the Kings. I don't think they're going to be particularly dramatic, which is why they're here 2/3 of the way down. But they did make the big DeRozan sign and trade. They do still have Sabonis and Fox and a couple other guys. Last year was a little bit of a disappointment coming off of like the really fun Light the Beam season. And I just think that they're in a situation, they're like the elevated version of the Raptors, where the Raptors are kind of like set, but on an upward trajectory. The Kings are kind of in a situation where like this is the team and we hope our young guys step up to take us from like middle of the pack playoff team to like contending playoff team. So if DeRozan doesn't work out, which like he's been really good, he feels like he's not aging, but like he is still kind of old. I don't know. So I just think it's more of an expectations kind of thing, but like they might be in a situation of like, we're not good enough and there's nothing we can really do to get better unless we're trading away one of our veteran stars or our promising young guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Kings are interesting because last year I had them pretty high for the same reason I picked the Knicks high this year, which is that they were coming off of that like magical season. And after that happens, then all of a sudden you're not taking anybody by surprise anymore. Everybody's bringing their A game because they know how good you are, and that's where the expectations are. I actually am cautiously optimistic that DeRozan is going to be a perfect fit on that team. Like he is such a good leader. Having watched him for the past 3 or 4 years in Chicago, I absolutely love that dude. And I also think like it's hard to picture a better veteran person to come in on a young-ish team who's on the rise. I also think he's going to be galvanized by finally being on a good team rather than being on the Bulls, and that makes me sad, but like it is what it is. So I think the Kings are like going to be sneaky good. If I were going to like put
I think they should be okay.
$5 on a team to win the championship, I would put it on the Kings just to be like, I don't know, maybe they figure it out.
Yeah.
All right, we're getting to the bottom half here, bottom third.
I mean, we're bottom 10 at this point.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with the OKC Thunder, and
that was my next pick.
Yeah, it's like same as the Celtics, where obviously the Celtics are coming off winning the championship, but the Thunder were really, really, really good last year. They've now added, is it Hartenstein or Hartenstein? I never know.
I think he goes by Hartenstein.
Okay, so they've added Isaiah Hartenstein.
He's German, or at least the last name is German. I want to go Stein.
And he's bright-skinned.
I think he goes Hartenstein.
So they've added Hartenstein, and they've added Alex Caruso, my beloved Alex Caruso, who I will also miss dearly. They should be even better. Like if I actually had to place a bet on the team to win the championship, other than the Celtics, I do think I would pick the Thunder because Holmgren, if he can stay healthy, could be one of the best players in the league, and he's still so young. SGA is absolutely incredible. I think he's probably going to be up there, if not leading the league in scoring. I hope they never recreate that horrible commercial of what a pro wants, because that, it made me want to rip my ears out every single time I heard it. But all to say, the expectations are rightfully very, very high for this team. And the higher the expectations, the more drama is afoot if a team does not live up to it, or does live up to it in the regular season and then doesn't have a good playoff.
The only reason I had them lower in my rankings is like news that came out a couple of days ago. Isaiah Hartenstein hurt his, I think, one of his fingers or his hand in a preseason game, and he's going to be like out until December. So like weirdly, this gives them this cushion of like, oh well, Hartenstein's hurt. So yeah,
fair.
But I agree with your assessment in terms of like, I think they're kind of like, we're getting into the teams. I think they're like the last one with a shot of like being good. So that naturally just always lends itself to more drama when people like think you're actually going to be good at basketball. For number 22, I guess I guess we still haven't picked the Pacers, and they should be fine, but I don't think they're going to be very dramatic. I'm going to pick the Brooklyn Nets at 22, even though they're not supposed to be very good. There is just the situation of like Ben Simmons is on the team. You never know. Like always weird, always strange, always confusing. And then they also have the thing with Cam Thomas is on the team. And I just like don't trust that man on a basketball court. I also don't trust him on a bad team, like a truly bad team.
Right.
On a like my teammates are actually worse than me team, as opposed to like a perceived version of that. Like he knows he's better than a lot of the people on this roster. So like, is he just going to shoot 50 times? Like he might shoot 50 shots in a game. Like it's not impossible. So the Nets could just get like really, really ugly. And I don't know. I think there's a bunch of like teams that are going to be bad that people are like, whatever. But like the Nets might be bad in a way that raises some eyebrows.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. They are certainly the second best basketball team that plays at the Barclays Center. Let's move on. I'm going to pick my Chicago Bulls. Now, last year was a flipperoo. You picked the Bulls in the top 10.
Oh, I would have picked them higher, but I just knew you wouldn't pick them, so I let them drop.
Yeah. Well, I didn't. I don't think there's anything like homery about it. The reason that I pick the Bulls this low is that like,
oh, this time for sure. I don't think this. I'm saying last time. Last time I picked them 10, I would have. I had them higher on my list, but I was like, Adam's not taking up top 10, so I can wait.
Yeah. No, yeah. This year, I really don't think there's a lot of drama to be had, just because like there aren't expectations for this team, and I think last year was incredibly frustrating because they were still running out this same group of people who clearly weren't getting it done, and then compounding that by doing literally nothing at the trade deadline, which made no sense because now you lose people for free. I guess the only drama that could happen here is if Lonzo gets hurt again. And like even thinking about that just makes me so sad because I don't know if you saw it. I'll post a video to it. It was really, really nice. They gave him the game ball and like gave a whole locker room speech about how much everybody respects his work ethic and him finally getting back out there. I can talk myself into a healthy Bulls team being like 6 through 10, probably more like a 9 or 10. Are they going to compete in any serious way? Not at all. I think the most drama is going to be if Lonzo gets hurt again or if they're mediocre at the trade deadline and once again don't do anything. But also on a higher level, it seems like Billy Donovan is there to stay. But I don't know how much patience there's going to be for like the higher ups there when this is the state that a team like the Bulls are in. And you talked about that article talking about New York sports. Like it is genuinely pathetic how bad Chicago sports have been in recent memory. Like take away the Cubs winning the World Series, which obviously was, arguably the best moment of my life. But aside from that, the Bulls have been really bad and really irrelevant since Derrick Rose. And that's over a decade ago. The Bears are just now finally starting to be like a little relevant because they finally have a quarterback. But like the White Sox are terrible, the Bulls are terrible, the Cubs have been really bad of late. It's very depressing to see the state of things in Chicago. And frankly, I would like more drama because that would at least mean there's like something compelling going on. But there's just not.
I think the Bulls drama this year is solely Josh Giddey dependent. If he sucks, then it'll just be like, we made the trade for this guy. Like we gave Caruso and got no picks back for this guy. So I think that's the drama
and
center.
I know nothing actually ended up happening in terms of like legal stuff with Josh Giddey, but it's still the fact that there were even like accusations of improprieties with underage people is like kind of icky.
Yeah,
so
icky for sure. 24, I'm just going to pick the Pacers just because they're supposed to be good. And if they're not good...
Hey, I'm in Indianapolis. How dare you?
Look, they're supposed to be good. If they're not good, then there'll be drama. But like, again, this is pick number 24. I don't think they're going to be dramatic, but more so than the other teams.
Fair enough. I am going to pull you picking the Grizzlies and say Charlotte Hornets because Miles Bridges. Let's move on.
Yeah. And didn't they give him like a contract extension too, which is super gross. Like they paid him a lot of money, I think, to be on the team for a good chunk of years.
Yeah, I think so. And he is a fairly good basketball player, but
he's a terrible person. Yeah.
One of the worst.
Yeah. And then also they got a new ownership group. I think that makes sense. 26, I'm going to pick the Spurs just because there will be more eyeballs on the Spurs than some of these other teams just because Victor Wembanyama is on the team. So I don't really foresee drama, but solely just because more people will be paying attention to them than some of these other teams, I think that they could have a little more drama than the rest. But again, this is pick 26. So we're really picking them to be like the fifth least dramatic team.
I'm going to pick the Orlando Magic with my next pick. They were a really solid team last year. They, I guess, they lost to the Cavs in 7 games.
Yeah, but it was fun
in the first round.
In terms of them, like almost doing it, the basketball was not.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a real test of like, can they make it to the next step or not? And it's weird. Like Paolo Banchero is a very, very good basketball player, but I feel like he's still not like talked about that much or known that widely. And maybe it's the market that he plays in, or maybe it's his style of play, but he's just not somebody who has like entered the, I don't know, pop culture side of the NBA, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I'll be interested to see how the Magic do this year, but they should be a pretty solid team. I have them as like probably around where they were last year, like a 4 or 5 seed.
Yeah, I think they'll be solid. I think they'll be good. I think the only question with them is like Franz Wagner had a weird like down tick of a year last year. Is that sustained or is it a blip? And I think that's the thing. But they got KCP, and I think that's really going to help them. I think they're going to be really good.
KCP is going to be a huge addition, and I also think he's arguably going to be an even bigger subtraction from the Nuggets.
Yeah, I think that the Magic are going to be a very good regular season team that I am not worried about at all in the playoffs. Like,
right.
They remind me of like the old Raptors teams with like Lowry and DeRozan, where like they're going to be great during the regular season, and if the Knicks play them in the playoffs, I'll be like, let's go. Like I won't be scared at all.
Right.
Okay, 28. I'm going to pick the Portland Trailblazers.
Okay.
Just because they still have the Scoot Henderson thing. He kind of ended the year better, and I think he probably will be okay. But if he's a dud again, people will be like, wow, we picked this guy over some of the other people that went higher in the draft. So that could be a thing. They also have DeAndre Ayton on the team, which is always kind of funky. And I just think in general, like they're bad and they're okay with that. But there could just be drama of like, they got a lot of guys that could be traded, so that could just end up like being some weird spice. But again, I'm picking them to be the third least dramatic team. So, yeah.
My last pick is going to be the Washington Wizards, who this is just news coming in. It's the preseason. They've actually already been eliminated from playoff contention. I saw a similar tweet today that was one of those like officially eliminated. It's let's just get this out of the way while we can. The Wizards are horrendous. They are really, really bad. And Kyle Kuzma sometimes is bad in a way that makes me feel like it's a bit where he'll just like airball 3 shots in a row. And I'm like, I don't understand how that is happening. Like there was a play that was blowing up the internet the other day where he crossed over Ben Simmons so hard that Simmons fell down and then Kuzma promptly airballed a 3. So like between him and Jordan Poole, like it just feels like their whole vibe is trolling their own fans and the league. So I couldn't in good faith pick the Jazz over them. But apparently the least dramatic team is the Jazz and their 4% alcohol beer. So what do you got?
Yeah, the Jazz, I was toying between Jazz and Wizards. I probably would have picked Wizards to be number 30 because they're so bad. But I think the Jazz just shouldn't have drama. The only potential piece of drama they had was around will they or won't they trade Lauri Markkanen. But because of the way that the timing of their contract signing worked, they cannot trade him this season. So I think there is like no drama. Like, yeah, maybe they make other trades, whatever. But like that was the only possible dramatic thing. I think they, just like many other teams, are going to try to be bad in order to get Cooper Flagg, who's going to be like the consensus number 1 pick next year. And it's supposed to be like a generational, like, whoa, like a Wemby, LeBron, Anthony Davis, like we got to get this guy kind of draft pick. So I just think they're going to be bad. I don't think anyone's going to care. And that's going to be that. Yeah. So that's the least dramatic team. All right, so that's been the drama draft. We will revisit this at the end of the season to see how we did. Yeah. And hopefully you all enjoyed it, and hopefully you all now get an understanding of like what dramatic storylines are out there for these teams as this season goes on.
Yeah, and I was recording who picked which teams, so I have a list of that. We'll put up a little poll and see who you think picked the more dramatic teams. Actually, I'll do it without our names so that people can make an unbiased decision of who had the best drama draft. And that is how that will go. And then what we can also do is at the end of the season, we'll go back and reassess how we did as we did this year, which was a really fun episode. Fun. But there you have it.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Horse Horses, hosted by Adam Amawala and Mike Schubert. Our editor is Kensei Suramaki. The music is by Victoria Kapamanas. The art's by Allison Wakeman. The website's by Kelly Schubert. And the social media is by both of the Horse Boys.
Thank you to our producer-level patrons, Polly Burge, Salvatore Testa, Siobhan Ellsbury, Doko Chasing Taco Falls, Bang, Bang, Roast Beef Debris, Denver Steve Nuggets, Anna Reed. Steph Curry is a veteran now. Weird.
Weird indeed. Weird indeed.
Hi Trish, Chase Underulo, Naked Rachel, Sidney Crosby is a vampire, Chelsea's cousin, Ginger Spurs Boy, Balls to the Walls, and Mats Furli. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Horse Hoops and on Twitter at Horse_Hoops because
Horse Hoops was Horse Hoops.
Did you just make a horse noise as you were thinking?
Whoa, we got to keep it in. But I will say that Horse Hoops was run by that guy who made fun of Sam Mitchell on TV. And Sam Mitchell was like, Youngblood, and then got the account suspended.
And shared Horse's exact stable address.
Doxed it out. Not good. Not good.
That's tough. You can go to our website, horsehoops.com, for links to that very argument, if we can find the footage of it, and much, much more.
Yes, and if you want to support the Horse Boys, you can go to patreon.com/horsehoops, which I would say go to. We are changing the Patreon structure because with Patreon payment stuff starting in November, you have to charge monthly. So if you are a patron, we are going to be changing that. And you got to go over to patreon.com to see what we're doing. But we'll have a whole thing explaining that there. But in November, they're switching it from where we charge you every time we post something to instead charging a flat monthly fee. So head on over to patreon.com/horsehoops to check that out. And if you want to support us, you can get cool stuff there. It's all going to be similar rewards and stuff. We just got to shuffle things around a little bit. And you can also go to horsehoops.com/merch to get physical and digital merch that also supports the Horse Boys. So to close out this episode, we're going to do what we always do, say something on the count of three. Should we cheer for drama? It would...
We can cheer for drama, or I think maybe in the interest of solidarity and love, if you're open to it, I would be willing to say go Knicks on 3 if you simultaneously say go Bulls, even though it's not going to matter.
I'll do it.
All right.
That sounds good to me. We can make it happen.
All right.
Alrighty. One, two, three.
Go Knicks! Wow, I'm surprised it didn't burst into flames there, but that felt pretty good. That felt pretty good.